guys, and welcome back to Garden of Kayland. So I go through what I consider to be plant phases, and while my seemingly permanent plant phase is always going to be philodendron, I recently acquired a taste for Hoyas. I only have a few right now, but that wish list is growing rapidly. So here are the Hoyas that I have in my collection right now. But before we get started, hi guys, I'm Kayla and welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe if plants are your vibe. Let's look at some plants. This was actually the very first Hoya that I ever bought. It's a Hoya carnosa tricolor, and I remember being so confused when it flowered for the first time because at the time I had no idea that they did that. I was really drawn to it because of the pink stems that hopefully I can capture, and of course the different colors of the leaves. I immediately divided this plant into two separate plants when I first got it. So this is only one of them. The other one is not as long as this one, but it does seem to have a little bit more color than the other, and that's because I keep this one under a grow light. The other one is in bright indirect light, but not as bright as this one. So of course, more sunlight is gonna bring out that color a whole lot more. I had my larger one up on a trellis originally, but the trellis started looking real sad real quick because of the weight of the leaves. Hoya leaves are very dense, some of them at least. The weight of it just can weigh down whatever trellis it's on, and so the solution would have been to get a more sturdy trellis and work with that, but I didn't. I haven't yet. That is in my plans for the future. This has flowered for me. I think I wanted to fill up this pot before I let it flower again so I can have two nice full Hoyas, and I may even put one of them outside this summer. I don't know, we'll see. But because this has been through so much with me, she has been through moves, and one time I left her out in the cold during the winter time, so she didn't die. She's been sticking around, she's been hanging on. She is a true OG, and because of that she will stay in my collection forever, and she knows too much, so I gotta keep her because I don't want her telling my secrets. A more recent one is my Hoya Lisa that I have recently become really obsessed with. I keep posting it on my Instagram. Nobody really cares as much as I do, it seems. These sun stress so beautifully. They are kind of a pink color when they sun stress, so at any given moment these leaves can be like 4 or 5 different colors, and that is something that I truly appreciate and truly love. Like, you have some all green leaves right here, which is fine, but these are the ones that are doing it for me. Sure, it's in this smaller pot right now, but I'm gonna leave it in this smaller pot in hopes that it will get root bound and potentially start pushing out some flowers for me. This is one that I do want to see flower because I haven't seen it flower before, so I'm really curious to see how that's gonna turn out. It has been a wonderful grower for me. It's been growing so much, and I know that this is a characteristic of Hoyas, but it hasn't done like that shoot thing where it puts out those long shoots. It's just been a very bushy, healthy, very voluptuous plant so far. I keep it in my greenhouse cabinet where it's receiving a constant 60–70% humidity. Although Hoyas don't necessarily, well, not all of them, don't necessarily need really high humidity, this seems to be loving it in there, so I'll keep it in there. I'm gonna keep this one in the greenhouse cabinet until the wheels fall off, until it outgrows it, because I really do want this to continue to grow and be a big beautiful plant that I can put up on a trellis and just continue to show off. This next one has only been in my possession for a week and I am obsessed. Are you kidding me with how gorgeous this is? Even though it was sold to me as the red version, I am kind of suspicious that it is just sun stress and that's what's making it the red version, and these places are just marketing it as the red. Either way, I love this because of the size of the leaves, and obviously if it does turn completely red, that is going to be a huge plus. And really, I can't believe that I bought it, and I bought it with the leaves already this huge on it. I can't wait to see what else it's going to do and how much bigger it's going to get if it does end up getting bigger. But of course, my major concern is getting these leaves nice and red. But can you imagine these on a trellis and going all the way around? Number one, that would be super heavy. These leaves are also very dense and obviously very large. So I don't know how I'm gonna end up supporting it when it does start growing. Right now, I have it on just this little stake, and even that is a little bit questionable in this pot. So far, I am so in love with this plant. Even if it does turn out to just be the normal green one, I'm still gonna love this. The leaves kind of remind me of a turtle shell, and I am a sucker for big Hoya leaves, especially when they have texture and a little bit of veining, and even the back of the leaves are impressive to me. And I see actually more red on the back than I do the front right now. I can't wait for you guys to watch this grow with me, and we're gonna see if this is actually going to just be green or if it's really gonna be red for all of us, because y'all are in this with me. Y'all stay tuned. We're gonna see how this turns out. I'm gonna put it under a grow light and leave it there all winter. Depending on how I feel in a few months, I may put this one outside during the summertime, but it is definitely breathtaking no matter what it does. And I'm just really happy I have it now. This is my Hoya isensus that I got over the summertime, and it has obviously had a very good year so far. I didn't even realize how much it had grown until I looked at an older video of me unboxing it, and I just thought, wow, not only did the leaves increase in quantity, but the leaves that came on it actually increased in size also. So that was definitely a pleasant surprise. I would ideally like to see it fuller, but with the leaves being this size, it's gonna kind of look full either way. And the reason that I got this one was because when I had researched it, I saw people having big giant leaves on them. The leaves themselves don't have a whole lot of character really. I mean, there's a little bit of texture there. It's kind of a matte color, but it wasn't something that on a smaller leaf would have drawn my eye. It really is the size of the leaves. Even though I'm not much of a plain Jane type of girl, I actually like these leaves just being this plain green color, especially in this white pot. Like that's a good look. I like that. And the leaves are plain by my standards. Some people may find these leaves really impressive. They've got, like I said, a really matte texture to them. They're very, very thick. I actually just love and appreciate this plant, especially during the summertime when it is getting really adamant lighting. These outer parameters will get a black, like a black margin around them. You can kind of see it. That is something else that is kind of a hidden gem, a hidden beauty that you have to walk up on to really notice and appreciate. I definitely love it. I don't need a whole lot from these leaves to appreciate this plant. Really, it's been fast growing. The leaves are huge, and honestly, I don't even care if it flowers or not. I'm just obsessed with getting more and more of these big, gorgeous leaves. This is a Hoya that I saw and immediately knew that I had to have it. This is my Hoya polynera. It's still fairly new, as you can kind of tell. I have it in pond inside of this self-watering pot. And something I didn't mention is my Hoyas are really loving being in pond. I don't have them all in pond right now, but pond has definitely been the ideal situation for my Hoyas. I really can't explain why. They're not difficult to keep in soil, but I was rooting a Hoya and decided to root it in pond, and when it took off, I decided to start putting a lot of them in pond, and eventually all of them. But I love this Hoya because of the leaf structure and how it grows and the leaf pattern that it grows in, kind of like a mermaid tail, which is why they call it mermaid tail or like fish tail Hoya. I wasn't aware though that they had little splashes on them, and the detail of the leaf is just, oh my goodness, like everything about this just screamed, you need to get it. Usually when I see them, people have huge, massive pots of them that it looks like they've been growing for years. The flowers are beautiful. They kind of grow in under these leaves, which is like, of course they would do something that special. So I have it on a trellis right now under a grow light. I need to get this nice and full. I want it to completely go around. And to be honest, when I put it up on a trellis, I kind of said, oh, I don't really know if I want to keep it on a trellis, but it has gotten so used to being on a trellis now that I don't want to take it off with it being so new. Maybe that is something I'll try in the growing season. But again, totally obsessed with this. So happy that I have it. If my house was on fire, this is one of the ones that I would come back to retrieve. Another Hoya inspired by grandma. I actually got this from her as a one leaf cutting and didn't know what it was. I mean, I research and research. Like I was Googling Hoya with seashell like leaf, all green Hoya. I kept looking and looking. It's not one that you see very often, and that just adds more value to it. I mean, besides the fact that I got this from grandma and grew it this size from a one leaf cutting, and you can just tell by looking at the leaves. I think even on camera you can see it, that these have kind of this peach fuzz to them too, which is something else that I really enjoy. I've never had pests, I've never had issues with it. It's been in this same container in pond since I got it. This is actually the container that I propagated this plant in. And I can just tell by looking at the roots in here that I'm going to have to completely break this glass in order to repot it, which is fine. I mean, I got it from the dollar store. So this has been well worth the patience and the wait for me. For about 4 months, it was just that little cutting that did nothing, which I now realize was probably it putting its energy into growing new roots. This is actually just 2 stems off of one, which I don't know if you can see there, but like I said, it was just a one leaf cutting. I don't even know if that leaf is still on this plant at this point. I'm really happy with it. Thank you so much, Grandma. Grandma says you're not supposed to say thank you for plants. I don't know where that came from, but thank you anyway. My Hoya pubicalyx still also in the cup that I propagated it in, but it's doing really good, so why mess with it? It's in pond, which is why it's doing so freaking good. For a real long time, it was just these few little leaves up here, these smaller ones, and then I put it in a plastic cup. It was in kind of a more porous cup that was drying out way too fast. So when I put it in this plastic one, it started pushing me out these really good sized leaves, and as you can see, they are very splashy, true to the name. I am so happy with what this has been doing. It didn't really start doing anything until the fall, and now it's starting to push me out these nice big leaves. So obviously it needed more water. It needed to retain its water or its moisture for a little bit longer than what it was getting. And even though it wasn't dying, it just wasn't growing at all. It wasn't doing anything at all. So now that I'm getting the growth and its true nature is coming out, I couldn't be happier. I'm gonna keep it in my greenhouse cabinet until the summertime, and then we'll kind of reevaluate this situation. But oh my freaking goodness, y'all. This is the most perfect leaf that I could wish for. And then continuing to push out more of those larger leaves. These two are kind of newer. The leaves turn more of a purplish when they get sun stressed. So that is why I kind of think it's the Hawaiian, the Royal Hawaiian. Obviously they're not very sun stressed right now, but this is one that I don't need to be sun stressed. I don't need any of them to be sun stressed, but I'm so happy with this right now. And all it needed was a little bit of water. Who would have thought? I wish water solved all my problems, but sometimes the solution is just time. So this is my Hoya linearis, and I want it to be big and long and full so bad, y'all. If I could wish it into existence, I would. But there's nothing I can do other than just keep giving it the care that I've been giving it and just waiting. It's in the cutest little terracotta pot. I love these little terracotta pots for my already established or already rooted Hoyas because it's so cute. This Hoya has those long leaves. My kids said they look like little green beans, and they do. And it does grow a little bit faster than a lot of my Hoyas, but I also have it in a greenhouse cabinet right under a grow light, which is probably why it's growing so fast. So this piece right here was actually as long as this one, but I ended up cutting it and I put it back into the pot. I want them to get a little bit fuller. I'm gonna keep it in this smaller pot right now. Doesn't seem to be growing out of it yet, but I want this one to flower. I'm kind of curious to see how that looks. So a Hoya is more likely to flower when it's root bound and it's not focusing so much energy on establishing roots and growing roots. So like I said, I'll keep it in this pot for right now, but I see these on Instagram all the time and people have them so long and full. Mine is not long and full, but you know, it'll get there. I'm really sad because I want it to be there right now. I think that it's odd, but very elegant, especially when it's completely full and just falling out the pot. It's just so effortless. It's just beautiful. My Hoya Kistii would be a whole lot more beautiful and bigger if it hadn't been on the struggle bus since the day that I got it. I had it outside and it needs a little bit more care than a lot of my other Hoyas. I see that these are not ones that you can kind of skip on the humidity with. This is a pot that I originally had her in, and this is what was left after I took her out. So she was like a big full pot this size, and it seemed like no matter what I did, she just wasn't happy. More and more leaves just kept falling off until I had a pot full of mostly dead leaves. So I'm hopeful that removing her from that situation she was in, which was probably too high light, too dry, too warm maybe, I don't know. I'm hopeful that she'll do a whole lot better now that I'm keeping a closer eye on her. I really do think though that humidity is a solution to the problems that I'm having with these drying, crisping leaves that are shriveling up, that are falling off, because I have one in my greenhouse cabinet that is doing a whole lot better than this one. Even though it's not as full, this one was getting higher light, therefore it's a little bit more silvery than this one, but the leaves on this one are just a little bit more plump and juicy and healthy looking. So I think again that it's a humidity thing, and that I'm gonna end up putting the other one in a greenhouse cabinet or just closer to a humidifier so that it can eventually end up looking like this one. That is not one that I will probably put outside again during the summertime. No problems whatsoever from this. I really can't tell you why per se. I can't put words on it, but this has been my favorite Hoya to have. It hasn't caused me any grief so far, knock on wood. The leaves seem to be very plain and just green little leaves to the naked eye at least. When you touch it, it also has that peach fuzz texture, which was mind-blowing to me because I can't really look at it and tell that it has that. And the leaves kind of start off dark on the outside and just get brighter and brighter as you come towards the middle of the leaf. So naturally I've propagated it 100 times because I love it so much. Kind of wanted to do another one and have it growing in different conditions to see kind of what would be the best situation for it. And this is a second one that I have that obviously isn't as big as the one I just showed you, but the leaves just, they do a little something more. I don't know if they're just juicier or more plump. I love this plant so much. Out of all of the propagations that I've done, this one seems to have done the best. It looks the best to me, and it's really been growing quite fast for me, even though I don't have it in direct sunlight, and surprisingly still growing pretty fast. I just can't get enough of these leaves, especially when it's up against a white background. It just really does something to me. So I can't wait for this one to get big. I can't wait for all of them to get big. I'm really excited about it. Really was excited to show you guys this. I wanted to show you this one first, honestly. Even though it doesn't have a whole lot of detail, this is that Hoya. This is my variegated macrophylla. I was inspired to get this one when I saw a massive pot that my grandma had. I mean, it puts this one to shame, obviously. I aspired to get my Hoyas the size that she has hers. And it seems that the secret is putting them outside over the summer. She puts all of her plants outside during the summertime, and that is, I think, why all her plants are so huge. It's just that bringing them back in, there's bugs and like, having to go through the whole stress of bringing plants back in after the summer is over is really something that keeps me from putting them outside. But I can't have it all. I love the variegation, although I do want to see a little bit more color on it than what I'm getting right now, but more light would bring more color. And I don't have these in a highlight spot. I have them in more of a bright indirect situation right now. And this one is the outer variegated macrophylla. There are some that I've seen with the inner variegation. I'm happy with it either way. Just to get it a little bit fuller and have it focus on the leaves a little bit more. I am probably gonna cut the flowers if it does flower anyway, so I'm really not that pressed to see it flower right now. I love how this terracotta makes this green pop a little bit more. I don't love how this pot does not have any drainage holes. So the store that I got it from pots your plant up for you, and when they potted it up for me, they took it out of the nursery pot, which I was like, no, keep it in the nursery pot. But I was too scared to like be that difficult person, so I said I'll do it when I get home. I'll just do it myself. And when I got around to finally doing it, I realized it was doing okay without there being drainage holes in it. However, I do think it would do a whole lot better if there were holes in it. There's nothing that can replace having drainage holes in your plants, in my opinion. They did put like some either leca or some pebbles or something at the bottom to kind of accommodate for that. But like I said, nothing really takes the spot of having drainage holes in your pot. Hey, that rhymed. So because it doesn't have those drainage holes, I'm not watering this as often as I probably should, because obviously I'm scared to overwater it or for it to rot and just be sitting in water. Even though this pot is pretty porous, very porous actually, it's time to go ahead and repot this into something that's going to be a little bit better for my situation. So stick around, you guys. I want us to kind of track the growth of these Hoyas together and kind of figure out what works best. I waited very patiently to get this plant because I wanted to make sure I had the space for it. Who am I kidding? There's always space for more plants. For the price that these were going for a full plant, I was just a little hesitant about it because I didn't want to pay that for a full plant and then have it die. Knowing what I know now, I could have got this plant way sooner. This is my Hoya calistophylla that only had one leaf on it when it had 2 leaves on it when I got it. 2 little leaves. And you see the size of these leaves, but then this is the most recent leaf that it has pushed out, and sizing up is an understatement here. What are the next few gonna look like? And there will definitely be more. As you can see, nothing on this just yet, but I'm definitely very hopeful for what it's gonna do. I feel like this plant could have been around when dinosaurs walked the earth, because it just has this really ancient and like terrestrial weird look. I have it in pond in a self-watering pot too, because I was really pressed for this and I wanted to give it the best chance possible. And by the time I got this, I understood that all my Hoyas absolutely thrive in pond. So I stuck this right into pond immediately, and I have it in my greenhouse cabinet. There's nothing that I really have planned for the future with this other than probably for the next year or two, getting it to grow really full and really big and getting those leaves as big as I can possibly get them. I can already tell you right now that this is going to be my favorite Hoya. I think it's the contrast of colors that is really doing it for me. I have a complete weakness for like dark and light greens on a leaf. Sorry, I keep moving it and the camera keeps like refocusing. So look at this leaf and tell me that that isn't absolutely stunning and just very weird looking. And now imagine 50 of these leaves, twice this size, on a trellis. Chef's kiss. I cannot wait, y'all. So this one is not as much of a success story, but I feel like it will be. This is what I am left with. This is what it looked like when I first got it. I feel like this is going to be kind of like the Curtisii with like all the extraness involved. And I'm very disappointed because this was one of the bizarre, weird, edgy ones that I was excited to show you guys. And before I could even film this video, I mean, everything just dropped off of it. And I'm not quite sure what to do. It could just be that I had this imported and it didn't handle the traveling as well as my other Hoyas did, or my other Hoyas have in the past. This is just one I'm gonna have to keep an eye on, and hopefully the future will be a whole lot brighter for it. Maybe, I don't know if it's gonna make it or not. The roots still look really good, so it may just be the shock and everything, but for right now we're just going to say a little prayer and hope that he comes around. And then there's my Hoya abada splash that is still just a cutting right now. It's a little 2-leaf cutting. It doesn't even have roots yet. I recently got this maybe about 2 weeks ago from a plant swap, so I was really excited about that. The girl who I got this from had other Hoyas and they all looked really good, and so I was pretty confident in her care for Hoyas that this one would make it, as long as I could bring it home and continue to give it the care that it needs. I feel like this is gonna be an easy propagation. Another Hoya with those big round leaves that I absolutely love, except for they're nice and splashy. Is splashy a word? It's gonna be a word today. I don't think I'm gonna put it up on a trellis. I think I'm gonna let it hang out and do its thing, but I'm moving way too far into the future because it doesn't even have roots yet, like I said. And I'll keep it in the cabinet until it roots, and then maybe I'll move it, maybe I won't. This is definitely one that's probably going to take up a lot of space in the cabinet that I have it in. If it doesn't need to be in there, I have other plants to prioritize that do need to be in there. Let's let this baby root first before I start making all these plans for the future. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, my Hoya abada splash. Another plant that I got at the swap, I actually traded this one instead of purchasing it, but I've been looking for so long. I've been looking for a nice big full pot of them in local nurseries and stores. I don't really want to get a big pot of them shipped to me. If you know how I feel about red leaves, then you know that this Hoya Sunrise is definitely going to be one that I cherish and that I obsess over. Right now, it's just a cutting. It's got 3 little leaves on it. It's been doing okay so far. Again, I've only had it for about 2 weeks, so who knows, but it hasn't died. So when I get it up on a trellis, y'all are gonna be in trouble because I'm not going to shut up about it. I was even thinking about putting it outside during the summer because I want to keep that red as I can get it, as long as I can keep it red. I feel like that's the best way to accomplish that. So this is the Hoya Sunrise cutting. I don't know if it has roots yet. I haven't checked. Probably not. Like I said, it's been 2 weeks and she literally cut off the piece while I was standing there watching hers. I will keep it in the cabinet until it does, or until I start to see new growth on it. And then I'll probably take it out, put it on one of my other shelves with the grow light on it. Remember this moment because I'm gonna get this plant, come hell or high water, I'm gonna get this plant nice and big. I put this one on a trellis almost as soon as I got it. It came to me as a starter plant from a place that I no longer shop at because the plants that I was getting from there as starter plants just kept dying and just kept rotting. It seems like they were tissue cultures and just not ready to ship yet and just way too juvenile to do anything with yet. But anyway, I decided to buy them, so what can I say? I won't anymore though. This one did okay, as most of my Hoyas do when I get them shipped. I had gotten this one originally to satisfy my thirst for the calistophylla, and I learned quickly that it just wasn't enough. Even though this one is still very beautiful, it just didn't have the contrast that the calistophylla has for me, but it still has those dark veins and even little splashes of white in the leaves. That is a plus. But again, I was on the rebound for the calistophylla and got this one. That's really the only reason that I have it. So even looking at the back of the leaves, you can still see that dark or black almost line in it, or dark blue maybe, I don't know. My favorite part about it is the fact that not only does it have that dark veining, but it has those splotches too. I'm kind of getting like a double feature. The leaves haven't really impressed me with their size yet. I don't know if they will, but I have it under a grow light, so I kind of feel like this is the biggest that they're gonna get. It hasn't pushed out a new leaf for me in a long time. So I'm thinking that maybe all this waiting is because it's about to flower, or it's because it's about to push out a bunch of leaves at once, or maybe even some much larger leaves. But I really can't complain. This has grown so much in such a short amount of time, and it has rewarded me with more and more leaves. And I can also appreciate the fact that it's just covering one side of this trellis. It gives it kind of like this, I don't know, fancy look. It looks very designer, but it still doesn't change the fact that I want this whole trellis to be completely covered in leaves. I had this in front of a south-facing window all summer, and this is what it's done. I have it in pond, but the container that it's in is not transparent, so I wasn't watering it enough. It would probably be where I wanted it to be, or closer to that goal, had I been watering it when I was supposed to. So I'm just gonna make sure I'm giving it what it needs now and stop ignoring it. And then we'll revisit this in the summertime and see how far it's come. Here we go again with my cute little terracotta pot. I love my Hoyas in these cute little pots. I actually need to buy more of them. This is my Hoya gracilis that I got from Plant Proper. The leaves were just plain green at first. There was absolutely no little splashes of silver. And now not only are there leaves with like all splashes of silver, now the leaves are starting to sun stress. They're starting to turn purple. This leaf right here is actually coming in purple. So the grow light is really doing its thing on this one. The leaves are finally starting to have a lot more color to them. This one right here is really killing me because I have it in the greenhouse cabinet and it keeps like growing up through crevices and cracks, and I'm like, sir, where are you going? Relax, calm down. Like, you're really doing a lot. Go back home with your family. But yes, I'm really happy with it. It has been doing this really weird thing that I can't decide if this is just a Hoya thing or if this is kind of like a disease thing, if it's starting to get diseased or something. I'm seeing almost like this mold looking stuff on the leaves. So if y'all know what that is, let me know. It better not be nothing bug related though. I'm gonna maybe throw this whole thing away because I hate bugs. No, I'm not gonna throw it away, but now that I'm thinking about it, what if it is bug related and I have it in my hand right now? So we're gonna see what happens with this one. I really just got this as an experiment because I wasn't familiar with it. I hadn't seen a bunch of really big ones. It's really quite boring if it's not sun stressed. So I don't know if I'm super crazy about it right now, but I'm just challenging myself at the moment to see how big I can get this to grow. And then I'll probably prop it up on a trellis when I finally do take it out of the cabinet, which is very soon because like I said, little shoots are going in every direction. I've had this Hoya compacta for like 2 years, and this is all that it's done so far. Now I know that these are notoriously slow growers, but I'm still like, come on, can we speed this up a little bit? Do something. I did, however, have to repot it, so I mean that's something, that's growth. I just want a large trilling pot of this Hoya, and I know I can buy them already trilling, but that's not enough for me. It needs to be something that I grew myself and watched grow up. And so for right now, I'm just waiting. And y'all, oh my gosh, this got mealybugs, and let me tell you, do you see these leaves? How they're curled, how they're intertwined, how they go in every direction. It was impossible to get all of them off. It was a nightmare, but it is growing. It's put this entire side out since I got it, so that's something. So this plant is kind of like natural hair. Like, you know how the shrinkage is? I feel like if we straightened it out, it would be way longer than this, but I'm okay with it right now. I do want it to get longer and fuller, but for right now, I need to focus more on the health and keeping the disgusting pests off of my plants. This last Hoya was completely unexpected. I just happened to be having a really bad day a few days ago. So like a normal person, I decided I need a plant to kind of fix this problem. And then I spotted this, and it's already on a trellis and everything. I was like, okay, Costa Farms. I hardly ever see Hoyas in Lowe's and Home Depot or any big box store for that matter. So I'm hoping that this is a good omen for the upcoming spring and summer season, that they're gonna be putting more Hoyas out there. I feel like more people are getting into Hoyas now. Heck, I was one of them. 2 years ago, I had 2 Hoyas. So yeah, I'm with this, completely with this. I'm all for it. Even though these leaves don't do anything for me, I think it's the fact that they put it on a trellis and just packaged it so nicely. And this is just kind of a really perfect and cute plant. So you guys, that's it for today. I really gotta get some Christmas shopping done, and I'm losing some light anyway. Comment below what your favorite plant in this video was. Do you currently own any of the Hoyas that were featured in today's video? Let me know how they're doing. If you have tips, they are always appreciated. And you guys, this year was a very, very rough year for me. And pushing these videos out to you guys hasn't been an easy task, but your continued loyalty and support has really made it all worthwhile for me. And not only that, but you guys have been super encouraging in the comments. I've had the opportunity and pleasure to meet some of you in person. I got monetized this year. My channel has picked up and grown. So all of my hard work is actually starting to pay off, and I'm getting closer and closer to my goal, which is being able to do this full time for you guys. For that, I want to say thank you so much. Before I start crying, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.